Spirit warriors, they laughed at you, they doubted you, but now they're staring like you're a walking miracle. Why? Because something in you defies logic. You don't just walk, you radiate. You don't just speak, you awaken, and people feel it before they can explain it. This isn't some random shift in personality or a sudden glow-up from a new wardrobe, no. This is the result of an inner transformation so deep it's practically supernatural. Have you ever walked into a room and felt every eye follow you, not in judgment but in sheer awe? Like they're silently asking, what happened to you? That's the energy of the chosen one. It's magnetic, unexplainable, and impossible to fake. There's a scientific basis for this too. Human beings emit electromagnetic frequencies, and studies in quantum biology suggest that your energetic field can be sensed by others even before you speak a single word. So when you've done the inner work, when you've healed, evolved, and elevated, people feel it, even if they don't understand it. There was once a young woman, quiet and constantly underestimated. She watched the world spin in chaos while silently anchoring herself in truth. Her silence wasn't weakness, it was a strategy. As Carl Jung once said, in all chaos there is a cosmos. While others drowned in noise, she was learning to hear the divine whisper. People thought she was weird, too deep, maybe even broken. But behind that silence, she was decoding the matrix. She began to ask questions like, what if everything we've been taught is a lie? And what if my pain is actually a training ground? These weren't just random thoughts, they were the start of her awakening. When she finally emerged, her voice wasn't just heard, it was. Her words pierced illusions, her energy disrupted norms, and suddenly those who dismissed her were left wondering, how did she figure this out? And if you're still watching this, chances are that story is yours. You, chosen one, have walked through fire emotionally, spiritually, maybe even physically, and came out carrying light. That light now unsettles the dark in others. You've activated something divine in yourself. You cracked a code that most never even know exists. And now your very presence is a mirror, forcing others to confront the parts of themselves they've been avoiding. That's why the ones who used to mock you now watch in silence. That's why rooms grow quiet when you speak. You've become the living proof that transformation is real, that healing is powerful, and that spiritual awakening is the ultimate rebellion against a world addicted to conformity. The truth is, not everyone will get you, and that's okay. As the saying goes, you will be too much for some people. Those aren't your people. Your path is sacred. Your journey is rare. And this video, it's not just another post on your feed. It's your confirmation. You're not crazy. You're awakened. You've tapped into something ancient. And now the world can't unsee your light. Let's get into it. Point one, you see through the lies instantly. Most people rely on what they see, hear, or read to make sense of the world. They need evidence, something tangible to cling to. But you, chosen one, you're operating on a different frequency. You move through life not by what's said, but by what's felt. You don't wait for receipts to validate your suspicions or intuition. You simply know. You walk into a room and feel the entire emotional climate before anyone even speaks. You sense tension, insecurity, jealousy, neediness, and even hidden pain, all without a word. That's not a party trick. That's spiritual intelligence. That's discernment. The kind no school can teach and no technology can replicate. This level of perception doesn't come from just being observant. It comes from being aligned, from suffering, from spiritual pruning, from walking through darkness and learning how to see when there's no light. You develop this inner radar through experience, isolation, and deep soul work. That's why you don't get fooled by titles or sweet talk. You know when someone's vibrating off insecurity masked as confidence. You can feel when someone is projecting their wounds onto others. And most importantly, you can spot authenticity in a heartbeat. It's rare, and you know it when it walks in, just like others know it when you walk in. But here's what makes your gift terrifying to them. You don't say anything. You don't confront people, expose them, or try to prove you're right. You just move differently. You treat people accordingly. You don't clap back. You fall back. You don't entertain fakeness. You exit silently. That silence, it's not weakness. It's thunderous. Because when you choose not to play their games, when you refuse to validate lies with arguments, it forces people to sit with themselves. It leaves their manipulations hanging in midair with no target to hit. And that makes you dangerous. In a world addicted to noise, to oversharing, to performative empathy, and to digital masks, Your quiet discernment feels like X-ray vision. That's why people assume you know something or that you're hiding some secret information. And in a way you are. You've tapped into one of the oldest, most sacred technologies on Earth, intuition. Before humans built computers, algorithms, or even language, they relied on energy, vibes, a gut feeling, that inner compass that pointed toward danger or safety, truth or deceit. You've just remembered what others have forgotten, and let's be real, this freaks them out, because they can't manipulate what they can't distract. They can't lie to someone who doesn't need their words to detect the truth. They can't impress someone who sees through their curated identity and straight into their soul. That kind of spiritual discernment is disruptive. It breaks illusions, exposes falsehoods, and triggers egos. But you're not here to flatter egos, you're here to wake spirits, to remind people that the soul never lies, even when the mouth does. Chosen One, the real flex isn't having this power, it's not flaunting it. You're not out here posting threads on who's fake or giving TED Talks on narcissism. You simply observe, discern, and decide. That decision might be to distance yourself, to pray for someone, or just to stay rooted in your own peace. And either way, you don't owe anyone an explanation for the clarity you carry. That clarity is your protection, your compass, and your calling card. So yes, while others are busy analyzing data and reading the room, you're out here reading the unseen. Your discernment doesn't just give you insight, it gives you an advantage, and not just in conversations or relationships, but in life itself. You're not fooled, you're not phased, you're not frantic, because the truth doesn't chase, it stands, and you, chosen ones, are standing tall in it. Point 2, you turned your pain into power. You didn't just go through hell, you walked through the fire barefoot, eyes wide open, and emerged holding the blueprints for divine transformation. Most people break under the weight of adversity. They fold, they flee, they fracture. But you became fireproof. You let the heat of heartbreak, betrayal, and grief forge something eternal in you. It didn't destroy you, it refined you. While others used their suffering as an excuse to hide, you treated pain like spiritual resistance training. You met God not in stained glass chapels, but in the silence of sleepless nights, in the mess of your emotions, and in the aching quiet of surrender. You didn't just survive trauma, you transmuted it into power. Modern neuroscience backs this up. Studies on post-traumatic growth reveal that the brain, when exposed to stress and emotional pain, can either spiral into despair or, with intention, reorganize itself into something stronger. You're living proof of this phenomenon. You consciously chose to step out of victimhood and into victory. You retrained your nervous system not through denial, but through discipline, using prayer as your anchor, meditation as your medicine, and your own tears as sacred offerings. You journaled when your voice failed. You listened to your spirit when the world went silent. Every emotion you felt, you let it pass through you like a storm watering new soil. That's not weakness, that's divine resilience. The betrayal you faced, which could have soured your spirit, became your manual for healthy boundaries. You stopped overextending yourself to people who only wanted to drain you. You no longer betray your own needs in the name of love. Instead, you redefined love itself. You learned that true love doesn't demand your silence, your compliance, or your exhaustion. It honors your voice. It respects your sacred no. You went from people-pleasing to soul-pleasing. That shift, that's liberation. Loss became your sculptor. Instead of closing off, you expanded. Your heart cracked, but it didn't shatter. It stretched. The depth of your grief became the depth of your empathy. You learned to sit with sorrow, not to wallow in it, but to understand it. You hold space now, not just for your own pain, but for others. You can comfort without rescuing. You can witness suffering without absorbing it. That emotional maturity is rare. It's not learned in books, it's earned in the trenches. Now you move through life with an energy that can't be imitated. You carry an atmosphere with you like a warrior monk wrapped in peace, exuding strength that whispers instead of shouts. Your presence commands a room before you say a word. You're the embodiment of calm intensity. That's why people watch you. Not just because of what you've become, but because of what you overcame. They sense something divine in you, even if they can't name it. But what they don't see, their eyes miss what heaven witnessed. They don't know about the spiritual warfare you faced when no one was watching. They didn't hear the desperate prayers you whispered at 2 a.m. or see the faith it took to get out of bed when your soul felt hollow. They don't know the discipline it took to rise again day after day when quitting would have been easier. And that's okay. Let them marvel, let them wonder, because what they're witnessing isn't just a glow-up, it's a holy unveiling. It's the radiance of someone who didn't just recover, they were reborn. So no, you're not just a survivor. You're a complete system upgrade, a soul that rewired itself for purpose, a lighthouse forged in storms. You are, in every sense of the word, a living miracle, and your very existence is proof that pain can birth power and ashes can crown glory. Point 3, you mastered the art of being alone without being lonely. Chosen one, while the world scrambles for noise, applause, and digital validation, you, quietly, powerfully, chose the road less traveled, silence. In a society that equates busyness with importance and chaos with productivity, your stillness stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. See, while others drowned in distractions, you leaned into the quiet. Not because it was trendy, but because your soul was calling for depth, not decibels. Most people fear silence because they're terrified of meeting the parts of themselves that the noise was hiding. But you turned down the volume of the world to tune into the voice of God. You learned that solitude isn't some kind of cosmic timeout, it's a divine training ground. It's the sacred classroom where the soul learns what no YouTube tutorial can teach, how to be. The ancients knew this. The mystics, sages, and prophets, they all withdrew before they emerged. Even Christ went into the wilderness. Moses climbed the mountain. Buddha sat under the tree. They weren't avoiding the world. They were aligning with something higher than it. And so did you. You didn't go viral. You went internal. And what you discovered in that secret place changed you forever. While the masses chase stimulation, you found peace in contemplation. That's rare. Most people confuse movement with momentum. But not you. You're not just doing, you're being. You walk differently now, not arrogantly, but anchored. There's a stillness in your stride, a quiet strength that makes people turn their heads. They don't know why you captivate the room, but it's because your energy doesn't compete. It simply is. You're no longer seeking attention because you're aligned with intention. And when someone lives from that place, the world notices, even if it doesn't understand. There's a term in psychology called metacognition, the ability to think about your thoughts. Chosen ones like you have mastered this through your relationship with silence. You've trained your mind to observe rather than react, to reflect rather than explode. That's why when life throws chaos, you don't flinch. People around you are wondering, how is she so calm? Why doesn't he get involved in the drama? But they don't realize you've sat in the fire before. You've held conversations with your fear, wrestled your insecurities, and cried your prayers. You don't panic anymore because the war that once lived inside you has already been won. And here's the kicker, your calm is confrontational. Your peace exposes their panic. Your contentment convicts their craving because you remind them of what they gave up on. You didn't need a crowd to validate your calling. You went to the cloud, the divine source. You're downloading wisdom from heaven while they're uploading selfies for likes. And that's why you can walk into a room without saying a word and still shift the energy. You carry presence, not performance, frequency, not force. This era we live in is noisy. Everyone's trying to go faster, get louder, and be seen. But the chosen ones, the real awakened souls, are slowing down, going inward, and listening to what most have tuned out. You've developed spiritual ears, not just physical ones. You don't just hear noise, you discern truth. That's what makes you so rare. You're not ruled by timelines. You walk in divine timing. And that, Earth Angel, is power. So while they're out there screaming into the void, you're having conversations with eternity. While they chase relevance, you rest in reverence. And no matter what they say or think about your silence, just remember, it's in the quiet that God speaks the loudest. Keep walking in your sacred calm, because the world doesn't need more noise, it needs more you. Point 4, you forgave without receiving an apology. Oh, this one drives them absolutely mad. See, they were counting on you to spiral, to lash out, to stew in bitterness, maybe even to fall apart in public so they could say, see, I told you they were unstable. They expected tears, rage, and months, if not years, of passive-aggressive social media posts. But you did something far more shocking, far more powerful. You let go, not for applause, not for a reunion, and definitely not for them. You let go for you, and that's what messed them up the most. Forgiveness, despite how soft it sounds, is one of the most radical acts of self-liberation there is. Neuroscience backs this up. Holding on to resentment triggers a stress response in the brain, especially in the amygdala, the part that governs fear and anger. It floods your system with cortisol, your stress hormone, which over time can erode your immune system, impair memory, and even shrink the brain. Basically, holding a grudge isn't just emotionally exhausting, it's biologically damaging. So when you chose to forgive, you weren't saying what they did was okay. You were saying, I'm done letting this poison my peace. And guess what? That decision expanded your energy. You started sleeping better, smiling more, creating again. People could feel it when you walked in a room, lighter, unbothered, unchained. You stopped obsessing over what they were doing or whether they ever apologized. You transcended their drama like a soul that finished its karma. Meanwhile, they're still in the same emotional loop, bitter, confused, low-key, stalking your growth like it's an unsolved mystery. How are they so healed? They whisper to themselves, unable to grasp that peace isn't something you wait to receive, it's something you choose. Spiritually speaking, forgiveness is not forgetting, it's not blind reconciliation, it's a soul's way of reclaiming power. The great Desmond Tutu once said, "Forgiveness says you are given another chance to make a new beginning." You made that beginning. While they're still pressing rewind on old betrayals and imaginary conversations, you're writing new chapters, flourishing in ways they swore you couldn't, becoming the version of yourself that their betrayal forced you to meet. And let's be real, they hate it, because your peace highlights their chaos. Your grace exposes their guilt. Your healing reflects the very work they've avoided. It's one thing to watch someone move on. It's another to see them glow from the very thing that was supposed to break them. You didn't just bounce back, you elevated, silently, steadily, soulfully. And no revenge post or side comment can compete with that level of transformation. So now, while they scroll through your photos, asking mutual friends about you, low-key hoping you'll mention them, you're busy, thriving, building, living proof that healing isn't about forgetting the pain, it's about refusing to be defined by it. You found out that the real flex is inner peace, that the final word is peace of mind, that the true mic drop isn't revenge, it's release. And here's the twist. They don't hate you, not really. They hate the version of themselves that couldn't do what you did. They hate the mirror you became, the one that reflected back all the growth they resisted. So you keep going, spirit warriors. Keep choosing peace. Keep moving forward without the closure you never needed, because sometimes the best "I told you so" is silence and success. Point 5, you're not triggered by the old tactics anymore. Manipulation, gaslighting, emotional games. Once upon a time, those tactics felt like a whirlwind, confusing, disorienting, even paralyzing. You'd question your own reality, replay conversations, and wonder if maybe it was your fault. That's how psychological warfare works. It's not always loud or obvious. It's subtle, it's sneaky. It's designed to make you feel small in a world where you should be expanding, but not anymore. Now you read those behaviors the way a seasoned reader skims a child's storybook, predictable, shallow, and a little bit sad. You've leveled up. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It came through sweat, tears, reflection, and healing. You did the inner work, the journaling, the therapy, the quiet walks when your soul needed answers. You peeled back the layers of programming, unlearned the lies, and rebuilt your truth brick by brick. That's why today, what once felt like chaos now barely causes a ripple. Instead of reacting to every manipulative jab or emotional ploy, you simply observe, not out of indifference, but out of wisdom. You know that not every fire deserves your water. Some flames are meant to burn out on their own. And those buttons they used to push, you disconnected the entire control panel. It's not that you don't feel anymore. You've just mastered emotional alchemy, transmuting chaos into calm, confusion into clarity. They come at you with their old tricks, triangulation, gaslighting, guilt trips, and it's almost comical now. You see the pattern before they finish the sentence. Your intuition, razor sharp, your boundaries, ironclad, your peace, non-negotiable. This isn't about becoming cold or hard, quite the opposite. This is about reclaiming power, soft power, the kind that doesn't yell to be heard. the kind that walks into a room and changes the temperature, the kind of power that radiates from healed wounds, not ego. You've become someone they can't manipulate, not because you fight harder, but because you see clearer. You've turned emotional intelligence into emotional immunity. There's actual neuroscience to back this up. The more self-aware you become, the stronger your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, rational thinking, and emotional regulation. When you strengthen this, you become less reactive. Instead of defaulting to fear, panic, or insecurity, you access logic, discernment, and grounded confidence. That's why their games don't work on you anymore. Your brain isn't wired for dysfunction. You rewired it for sovereignty. And they notice, they can't quite put their finger on it, but they feel it, that invisible wall of strength you now carry. It's in your silence, your smile, and your stillness. They sense that their power over you has evaporated, and it terrifies them. They don't know how you did it, but they know they can't reach you now. And that earth angel is what real power looks like. You no longer exist for someone else's chaos. You're no longer a puppet in someone else's drama. You're a witness to your own evolution. And the game, you're not even playing it anymore because you realized you were never meant to be a player. You were always the whole damn board. Point 6, you remembered who you are spiritually. Spirit warriors, let's strip the illusion and get straight to the sacred truth. You're not just flesh and bone walking around aimlessly. You are an infinite, eternal soul navigating a temporary human experience. And here's the wild part. You remembered, you woke up. While the world got drunk on distractions, you sobered up on divine truth. While others chased followers and filtered selfies, you tuned in to the pure frequency of your soul's mission. That's not woo-woo, it's ancient spiritual science. Quantum physics now echoes what mystics and sages knew centuries ago. Everything is energy. You are not a body with a soul. You are a soul using a body, and your energy, it vibrates higher because you've done the inner work. You've cracked the code of self-awareness. No longer do you seek validation from the crowd because you've had a revelation from the cosmos. And revelation beats recognition every time. See, your aura isn't regular, it's radiant. It carries the frequency of truth, the weight of lifetimes. That's why when you walk into a room, people feel something before you even speak. They get quiet, they look up, some shift uncomfortably in their seats, others draw nearer like moths to a flame. It's not charisma, it's your soul signature broadcasting ancient wisdom. It's encoded in your DNA, vibrating on wavelengths most folks have never even tuned into. You don't just talk, you transmit. Some people will be magnetized to your essence, sensing peace they've never known. Others, they'll panic, they'll gossip, they'll try to mock or misunderstand you. Why? Because your truth acts like a mirror, and mirrors are uncomfortable to those still hiding. You didn't shame them, you didn't expose them, you simply existed in your authenticity. And that alone made their masks slip. You see, people are used to performance, pretending, projecting. But when you show up aligned, grounded, and spiritually awake, it dismantles their illusion. They start questioning, why am I chasing all this? Why does their peace trigger me? What do they know that I don't? And the truth is, you didn't come here to fit in. You came to remember, to awaken, to lead. You are a spiritual GPS system reminding others of the way home to themselves. And let's talk frequency for a moment. Emotions like fear, shame, and guilt vibrate low on the energy scale. These are dense states. Love, joy, peace, and enlightenment, high frequency. When your soul operates from those elevated vibrations, you become a beacon. You shift rooms. You disrupt energetic patterns. People don't know why they're watching you. They just do. You're living proof that there's another way to exist, a freer, truer way. That's threatening to the matrix and thrilling to the ones waking up. So yeah, people will whisper. They'll wonder, how the fick did they figure this out? And here's the answer. You listened to the stillness, to your intuition, to source. You stopped outsourcing your power and reclaimed your divine blueprint. That's what makes you unstoppable. You're not better than others. You're just brave enough to be real in a world that rewards the fake. So keep glowing, spirit warrior. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Because you weren't born to blend in with the asleep. You were sent to shake souls awake. And the more you honor your truth, the more others will be reminded of their own. This is your calling, and you're answering it like the light bringer you are. Point 7, you serve a higher purpose that can't be manipulated. At the end of the day, what truly leaves them staring, jaw clenched, mind racing, spirit rattled, isn't your clothes, your job title, or your follower count. It's that you can't be bought, broken, or bent. You stand in a power that doesn't come from popularity. You move in a frequency that doesn't bow to fear. You walk through this world not as a product of it, but as someone who remembers who they are. And that's spiritual warfare in itself. Earth Angel, when you figured out your divine assignment, the Matrix felt it. The system lost its grip. You became ungovernable, unshakable, and undeniably free. In a world that thrives on control, economic control, emotional control, spiritual control, people are trained to trade authenticity for acceptance. That's the Matrix. A system designed to keep you seeking approval outside of yourself, but you didn't just unplug from the Matrix. You broke the code. You discovered that real power doesn't scream, it whispers from within. While others are chasing validation, you're cultivating inner alignment. While they're glued to trends, you're listening to truth. While they contort themselves to fit in, you rise into who you were always meant to be. And that's terrifying for the programmed mind. There's a deep psychological reason why people react so strongly to someone who walks in divine purpose. You become a mirror, a divine one. Not the kind that reflects their beauty, but their avoidance, their compromise, their fear. Every step you take in purpose echoes in their soul as, what am I doing with my life? And that's when the resistance begins. Not because you've wronged them, but because your clarity exposes their confusion. Your confidence disrupts their comfort zone. Your obedience to spirit unsettles their devotion to ego. Think about this. The greatest leaders in history, Jesus, Buddha, Harriet Tubman, and Malcolm X, were all disruptors. Not because they shouted the loudest, but because they moved in truth when others bowed to illusion. They couldn't be bought, they wouldn't be broken. They didn't bend for social approval, and that made them unforgettable. It also made them targets. That's the bittersweet reality of walking in purpose. People will admire you in secret, but attack you in public. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you remind them of everything they buried within themselves. Even science backs this up. Studies in behavioral psychology show that when people are confronted with individuals who have high levels of authenticity and self-determination, it triggers a type of cognitive dissonance in those who lack those qualities. Basically, your very existence becomes uncomfortable for those living in denial. You don't even have to speak. Your energy does the talking. Your peace becomes provocative. Your light is disruptive. Why? Because it challenges the lies they've built their lives on. And yet, despite the whispers, the weird looks, and the spiritual attacks, you remain grounded. Not because life is easy, but because you're rooted. You've been through enough darkness to respect your light. You know what it costs to walk in truth, and you pay the price daily. But guess what? The reward is divine. The peace, unmatched. The clarity, priceless. You're not just free, you're freedom personified. They can't figure you out because you operate on a different operating system. You're not driven by status, but by spirit. You don't follow, you're led. You don't chase, you attract. You don't shrink, you shine. You've tapped into the ancient wisdom that says power isn't something granted by the world. It's something remembered by the soul. So when they stare in awe, chosen ones, let them. You were never meant to blend in with the crowd or silence your light, to make others comfortable. You weren't born to conform. You were born to challenge the illusion. The Matrix, with all its programmed distractions and superficial standards, was never designed to hold someone like you. You broke through it, not because you were lucky or privileged, but because something deep inside you refused to be blind any longer. The signs were always there. The unanswered questions, the sleepless nights, the feeling that there was more to life than what met the eye. That's not madness, that's awakening. And when you awakened, you didn't just survive, you leveled up. You began to see through the noise, the lies, and the manipulation. You realized your voice carries truth, your presence shifts energy, and your spirit, oh, your spirit cannot be duplicated. The world will try to label you, intense, odd, rebellious, even unstable, but don't flinch. You are not broken. You are not crazy. You are. And that changes everything. Because when a chosen one stands tall in truth, it disturbs the systems built on lies. Some people will admire your strength. Others will envy your resilience. Many will try to imitate what they can never embody. Let them. You're not here for validation, you're here to be a mirror, to awaken the divine spark in others simply by existing in your authentic truth. The ancient ones would call you a light bearer, a spiritual warrior, Modern culture might not have a name for you, but heaven does. And as you move forward, grounded and aligned, remember this. Your journey is never just your own. Every step you take toward the light helps someone else escape the dark. So when they watch you, confused, inspired, intimidated, it's because they sense it, they feel it, that you figured it out, that you're no longer asleep. So shine unapologetically, walk with power, speak with clarity, love deeply, and most of all, stay awake. Because the world doesn't just need more people, it needs more awakened souls, and you, chosen one, are just getting started.